All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live stream. I, of course, James, All American Travels, as you guys know, and I am once again joined by Mr. Tim NesSmith, Ship Superintendent of the USS KIDD Veterans Museum, and for my first time getting to stream with Mr. Connor Kilgore here of Museumships.
Hello, everyone.
And how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming and joining us.
Connor's with the Museum Ship Mafia, so be nice to him. You may end up with the fishes.
Swimming with the fishes.
There you go.
So we have a pretty cool topic tonight. I know for some of the people who follow my channel, you'll notice, well, wait, didn't you do this a couple of months ago? Well, the answer to that quickly is yes and no. I did a live stream that was ships in movies, not necessarily museum ships. So while there's a few museum ships in there, there are other ships that are not museum ships. So that's the difference between what we're doing tonight and what I did a couple of months ago. So would you guys want to go ahead and just jump right on into it?
Sure.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's pull up our first images here. All right. And Tim, you prepared this little slide presentation for us. What do we got going on here?
Well, I figured I'd start out with what I know best, and that's the KIDD. So, and you and I have talked about this before. I think we did a segment of something like an update and talked about KIDD. But KIDD, her first feature film role was Run Silent, Run Deep in 1957. And you can see her in the periscope shot there at the top. She played the destroyer Akakazi, better known in the movie as Bungo Pete. And you had her for mostly really close-up shots of the bridge. You have the Japanese officers looking from the bridge with their binoculars, hunting for Clark Gable's sub. And then you see a scene of her with their fantail 5-inch guns rotating to bear to fire on the sub. And that's really at the beginning of the movie. Later in the movie, you see this shot of her bearing down. And then everything else that Bungo Pete appears in every other scene, it's this little ship model that's being pulled through a water tank with the cameras close up and them setting off firecrackers to simulate explosions in the water and everything. But that was her first time on screen. The next time she appeared on the big screen was in Battleship, but you don't really see her from the exterior. You see interior shots, which is right underneath Bungo Pete there. You see two of our volunteers in CIC. All the exterior shots were of Battleship Missouri. And that came about really by accident because they did all the filming in Hawaii with Missouri. And coincidentally, that was right as they took Missouri to dry dock. And when she came out of dry dock, they're like, okay, we want to tow her out to sea a little bit and do some film work for this movie. We'll pay you for it. And Missouri, of course, like a good museum ship, is like, sure, we'll take your money. So the scene with them cutting the chain and everything, nah. But there's a position called Script E, I think is how they pronounce it. They say stuff fast, but the scriptee who keeps track of every scene in the script and marks it off as they film it and catalogs it. That way they don't lose the footage. Apparently messed up and didn't get the shots of Rihanna in the CIC with a bunch of old vets from the Missouri. And they came and filmed some other scenes here in Louisiana at Celtic Studios in Baton Rouge, and they're going to do post-production in Baton Rouge. And so they're, lining up in their editing bay. Let's see these shots. And they get to those numbers for those scenes, and there was no film. And supposedly that person got fired. I'm sure it didn't relate well on their resume for future projects either. So they scrambled real quick. They were afraid they were going to have to fly Rihanna and everybody back out to Hawaii. And somebody, Baton Rouge Film Commission, somebody like that was like, we have a World War II ship here, the Kids downtown. I'm pretty sure they have the compartment that you're talking about, maybe not as big. And so they ran down to the museum and they're like, do you have a Mark 1A fire control computer? We're like, yeah. And they're like, can we see the room? We took them to the room. They're like, okay, it's a little, and they're doing chatter. It's a little small, but we can cheat the camera and, the angles and everything. And it happened to be a Thursday. And if I remember correctly, it was a Veterans Day. So I was busy shooting the gun, and I grabbed my senior most volunteer, who's on the right-hand side of that picture, and said, Garrett, show them whatever they need to see. And they became enamored of these old vets that were on board that Thursday volunteering. And afterwards they were like, you guys want to be in our movie? And they're like, no. And it kind of set them back on their heels. And they're like, well, why not? And they're like, we don't want to learn any lines, memorize any lines. And he's like, well, what if you're just extras and you don't have any lines? Oh yeah, we'll be in your movie then. So they did the paperwork, contract, all that, and set it up. And the day before Thanksgiving 2011, they came on board, and they brought Rihanna into town. They did the filming, and it was kind of funny because the vets didn't want to talk, and so they had them like not shave, not cut their hair, and everything for the weeks leading up to filming, and because they wanted them to look scruffy, and they got them there, and they're down in their skivvies in the costume trailer, and some guy walks up with a clipboard and contract and said, I need you to sign this, this, and this. And he gave it to each one of the three. And they're like, what's this? He's like, you just got to sign these so that, we have, the rights for your image, that sort of thing. And they're like, oh, okay. And they signed off on it. And then they show up on the ship, and the assistant director who was taking care of all this had snookered them because he wanted them in the movie. He just fell in love with them, and he wanted some speaking roles. And they had signed the SAG-AFTRA agreement. They joined the union, which meant now he could give them lines. So they were a little PO'd, but they played ball, and they argued about this isn't the way you would say it. And it's like, we don't care. Just say the line. And the movie came out. It didn't do that well in the box office, but then it goes to TV, to syndication, and every time it played on TNT or TBS, these guys would get a check in the mail for like 8 cents or 25 cents or $1.52 or something. And they'd come in on Thursdays and they'd say, well, I got a check, residuals check today. Well, how much was yours? $2.38. Mine was only $2.15. Well, I had more screen time than you did. and one of them, well, two of them have since passed away. We've only got one left, but the whole time they were around, they were always comparing their checks, and they just loved it.
Sorry, Tim, but when I've seen this film at least 4 times, and it was only, I think, in this last time after you'd brought it up, did it kind of dawn on me that, yeah, that space is a little small because it's such a relatively fast scene. Like it's, I think, only 15 seconds. But it's something that never clicked that, oh yeah, that's not on an Iowa class battleship. That's a much tighter space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was only after I became more familiar with the Fletcher class that it suddenly dawned on me that, oh, that's not a battleship, that one shot. That's really interesting that they care so much that it need to be that type of firing computer. Like that could have just been something that they could have brushed off, but they were looking for that seemingly.
Yeah, I was really surprised, especially given that they didn't care too much about, the vets using the proper Navy dialogue.
Right.
So, but they have their priorities, and I guess they wanted the look to be proper.
I guess they knew that the Missouri people would have words for them otherwise.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Now, the ironic thing about that is KIDD subbed. Molly, back up. Come on. My dog is getting curious about the computer. The KIDD subbed for Missouri's CIC, and we online on Facebook, we had somebody say, well, KIDD is also in Operation Sea Dragon or something like that. It was the movie that KIDD was filmed with what's his name, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Lundgren.
Yeah, and we're like, we weren't in that movie. And this guy goes through the movie and does screenshots for us, and you see a destroyer sailing away from the camera, dropping depth charges, and then sailors on the bridge giving orders and doing stuff. And I'm like, that's not a destroyer bridge. That's a citadel right there. That's that big armored space in a battleship. And we started digging, and the scene of the ship sailing away, dropping depth charges, is a little bit of CGI mixed with a ship model being pushed through the water with KIDD on it. They got one of the Blue Devil model kits, I guess, and painted it up the proper colors and stenciled the name on it, and then figured out how to roll 2 little tiny depth charges into a water tank from the model. And then they filmed on Iowa. So Iowa's bridge substituted for a Fletcher class bridge.
Wow. I did not know. I haven't seen that movie yet.
Yeah. I was told not to watch it, so I don't know.
Going back to Battleship for just a second, I hear Ryan Zemansky is a big fan of that movie. Is
he?
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to ask. So yeah, we kind of lorded it on social media over Iowa. We're like, you know what? It took a Fletcher class destroyer to fill in for a battleship CIC, but it took a battleship to fill in for a Fletcher's bridge.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So we had a few choice comments coming back at us for that. Oh, well. Greyhound is the next one that we were involved with. And I've talked a lot about that one, so I'm sure folks don't want to hear any more about that. But all the exterior scenes were KIDD, with the cameras bouncing up and down. So when you see her moving in the ocean, it's not CGI in that respect. The CGI comes into play to where they took actual footage of the ship with the camera rocking to simulate motion, and an actual oceanscape off of Halifax, Nova Scotia, where they put a camera crew on a Canadian frigate, and I forget which one, Connor, but
really
sailed for a week. They sailed with them for a week and just filmed oceanscapes, and then they used the computer to merge the two.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. And then our latest one was right before we sailed for the shipyard, January and February of 2024. We had a local Louisiana group film a movie called Sea of Madness. And that was the only title we knew, but apparently there's another Sea of Madness, so they added Siren's Revenge to it. Okay. It was released on YouTube. If you remember the old campy horror movies, this is a whole they've got a whole series of movies planned out based around cryptids. The first one was the Bog Man, which is, I guess, kind of a Bigfoot type creature. And so they've got it all set in the Bog Man universe, and it's campy, it's fun. There are parts where you just kind of cringe a little bit, but when they're filming, the director, one guy was going real over the top. I'm like, he's going to rein him in, and he was like, I want more of it. I want it as ridiculous as you can make it. So
wow.
Yeah. And it is also the screen debut of myself and one other crew member, Oren Bordelon, at the ship. They put us in on the last night of filming. And right about the 15-minute mark is where we appear. And we're in for all of about 3 to 5 seconds. And both of us meet an untimely end.
Oh, no.
Yes, I have a one-word line. It's out of all these TV shows and everything that have come to the KIDD in the museum over the years, I've been in 2 or 3 of them. I had one little thing in Greyhound where you should have seen my hand handing ammunition out. They cut it. I was with my quote-unquote grandpa under the P-40 at one point. They cut it. I forget what the other one was, but yeah, I've been cut left and right. And I'm like, I'm not getting in your stinking movie unless I'm going to be in it. And they're like, oh, we'll make sure you're in it. You're going to die. I'm like, okay, fine. So I die on screen. A horrible death.
Thank
there
you.
We go. Montreal.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's my dad.
Oh,
Leave it
wow.
to him.
Nice.
We didn't shut him out of the chat this time?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just want to say concerning that movie, I clipped Tim's 5-second scene so I could just go back and watch it. It's good times.
I'll need to look that up sometime.
Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Sure thing.
So as far as television, she's been in a lot of documentaries, but we didn't focus on documentaries for this stream. She can be seen in the background behind the judges in the, I want to say the 2014 season of American Idol.
Okay.
They were in the River Center across the way, which has just a bunch of windows, and they wanted the ship in the background and the jet and everything and all the American flags up. So you can see her in the Baton Rouge auditions for that. There was a reality show called Sons of Guns based in Baton Rouge. She appeared in one episode of that where they came out and made the guns operational. Reality TV is not real at all.
Right.
In 2014, she was in NCIS in the second NCIS New Orleans in the second episode where she stood in for an Arleigh Burke destroyer.
Yeah.
So they did close-ups of everything so that you couldn't see any World War II equipment.
When
has everyone been on an Arleigh Burke destroyer?
No, I have not.
I knew you were going to poke me about that. I get a text on, was it Mardi Gras Day?
It was the Sunday before Mardi Gras.
The Sunday before Mardi Gras, and he's showing me an Arleigh Burke, or he's showing me a ship, and I'm like, that's an Arleigh Burke destroyer, and he's like, yep. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Where's it at? Mobile. And then I'm like, which one? He tells me, and then I'm like, well, that's cool. I said, too bad they're not offering tours. He's like, oh no, I got a tour. And then he proceeds to tell me in detail how awesome the tour was. And I'm like, you're dead to me.
It's funny. You just a side thing quickly, because on topic of museum ships in film and in NCIS, the main NCIS show, a lot of the early seasons featured the old USS Barry.
Yes.
In quite a number of episodes, and I believe they used the John W. Brown as well in a number of episodes.
Okay.
And it's just that thing where it's like they say, "Oh, it's a Arleigh Burke destroyer" or whatever, and then you see a quick shot of the gun mount. You go, "Oh, I've been on Edson. I recognize that. That's Barry." So yeah, it's always interesting when shows seem especially use what they can. In many cases.
Oh yeah. And NCIS New Orleans was really good because they came to the museum at a certain point where funds were a little tight, and they basically made the trip from New Orleans just because they wanted to help the museum out. So that was
great.
Really nice. Yeah. And then the last thing we were in was National Treasure, Edge of History, which was a Disney production. And again, they focused all of their scenes inside the museum, but there's a couple of scenes out on the levee and looking out from the building toward the ship, and you can see the ship in the background on a couple of those. But they originally were looking at filming on the ship, and Instead, they sent us the script and we're like, nobody is running around doing parkour on the ship because somebody's going to get hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're like, yeah, it does. They're like, but what if they went from this entrance to the ship to another entrance? And we're like, there is no other entrance to the ship. There's one way on and one way off. And they're like, yep, that kills the scene. Never mind. So
yeah. I don't think there was a Fletcher in Hunt for Red October.
I don't remember a Fletcher in Red October.
There was
that I can remember.
There was an Oliver Perry class.
Okay.
Right at the end. And technically there was a 180 Iris class in the very first shot of the film. They disguised the Coast Guard markings. But that's another thing.
I haven't seen The Hunt for Red October in forever. That's a movie I need to go back and watch.
I watched it again last year. It holds up.
Yeah.
I actually watched Crimson Tide last year. And it got me to thinking, and maybe you guys know, was that the actual USS Alabama sub they used in the movie at that time?
I do not know.
I do not know. I can look it up.
Chat? Anybody?
Yeah. Let's throw it out to the chat. Which, by the way, that was also a really good movie.
No, they used the USS Barble.
Okay.
USS Barble as well as USS Georgia's Bridge. So it looks like they used two different submarines for that film.
Nice. Tim, is that everything you got for Kidd?
That's it for Kidd.
Okay. Do you want to move on to Intrepid? I see right next to us.
Sure. And just a heads up for everybody, I will have to step out in just a moment. My dog has diabetes, and our vet tech is going to show up and help me give her the shot because my wife is not home. She's having a nice little vacation in North Carolina, which is why I get to use the computer. So yeah, USS Intrepid sitting right in the middle of New York Harbor, man, she gets a lot of work. There's probably a lot more than what I found here, but there was a lot of documentary stuff, and we were focusing on feature films and television. I Am Legend. I did not correct that date. I apologize. That was not made in 1957. That's the Will Smith vampire zombie type thing. And I found a really cool picture. I just ran out of time of him on the wing. It's seemingly on the wing of the Blackbird on the flight deck, hitting golf balls into the Hudson. And somebody in the comment section where I found it was complaining, and the movie company had to step in and say, hey, no fear. The carrier did not let us, do that. We filmed the plane, and then we built a platform for him to stand on blue screen, and he hit balls off of the platform, and then we merged the two. So don't go yell at Intrepid for letting people stand on the Blackbird. Let's see. Hold on a second.
Don't they have a shuttle on the flight deck?
Yes, they do.
Now they do, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
What is the story behind that?
Well, they are the official air and space. They're an air and space museum, and because Intrepid was used in a lot of the NASA recovery work in the 60s and 70s. So I think from what I've been told, because on Museumships on our Facebook group, we get comments about the building they constructed on the flight deck to store that shuttle all the time. Yeah. So from what I understand, there wasn't enough space in her hangar, so they built a building on the stern of her flight deck. And yeah, it does ruin the look a little bit, but they have a space shuttle. Who can say that?
Yeah, that's true. I think they put it in New York because high traffic area. A lot of people would be able to see it. Same reason they put one in Los Angeles. I mean, they had to cut down light poles and trees and everything, and traffic lights to get it through the streets to the Science Museum where that one went. Mm-hmm. And then the other one went to Smithsonian and Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only ones. There's 4, right?
Shuttles?
Endeavor, Atlantis, Discovery.
Yeah, no, Enterprise.
Enterprise is the one that said Intrepid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently National Treasure, the first movie, was filmed on the Intrepid, or in front of the Intrepid, somewhere on the Intrepid.
He jumps off it.
Does he? Okay.
Yep.
I've seen number 2. I've never seen number 1.
The first one's pretty good. I actually think it's the better film. So give it a watch sometime.
Okay. I apologize, folks. I'm just waiting for a message to tell me to come open the door.
You're good.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to have to step away, guys. I'm sorry. I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Go poke a dog.
All right.
All right. James, do you just want me to mute my camera or step out of the studio? How you want me to do it?
I can mute your mic if you want.
Okay. Yeah.
He's muted.
I did it too soon. Okay, now he's muted.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me keep forgetting which one does this. So Connor, while we have a few minutes while we're waiting on Tim, can you give us a little background on Museumships, the website, and how all of that came to be?
Right. Well, hello, everyone. I do see a few people who also are on the podcast I'm with, which is Museumship Mafia. So no escaping me this month. So Museumships was started by Pim van Wijngaarden, who is a Dutch citizen. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure Pim will correct me if I'm wrong. Who is now an American citizen. He has dual citizenship, and he's a former Navy. He's a former naval service member. He started Museumships mostly as a hobby, and it just ballooned from there. Museumships.us, I believe it started 15 years ago. And when he said, oh, this is getting some attention, he created a Facebook group, and that has exploded beyond what he expected. And now we're in a situation where he now has 5 moderators, including myself, who maintain the group. And we basically promote Museumships wherever they are in the world. So if you visit our website, museumships.us, I believe you have the link available.
I do. Let me pull that up real quick.
Thank you, Pim. Okay, I did get it right. So if you go to museumships.us, you can see all the various museum ships that are there. I believe we have over 500 now listed from every continent except Antarctica. We also, on our website, have a list of museum ships with their online gift shops. So if you want to say, go buy something from the USS KIDD, you can go to our website, find it, and that will then take you directly to there. So if you're looking for a birthday or Christmas gift this year for any one of your friends or family, then that's a great place to go as well. So basically our entire organization is just to promote museum ships wherever they are in the world and promote their importance to the greater community. Anna Thomas, to answer your question, Museumship Mafia, we are currently streaming on the Buffalo Naval Park and USS Slater YouTube channel. So go and check out either one. And if you subscribe, you'll get the notifications when we go live. It's generally the second Wednesday of every month.
And how much longer are you guys having your series where you interview a different author each month?
So we're actually done that.
Okay, so you're finished.
Yep, we finished. For the last year, every month, we have been interviewing an author with USNI, United States Naval Institute. And we have been talking about their most recent books, most of them focused on United States maritime history, although we did have a book on the Queen Mary about 5 months ago. But yeah, that's what we've been doing. But now we're getting back into museum ships proper. So we'll be doing catch-ups with various museum ships from around the United States and hopefully even beyond someday, because a lot has happened in the year that we've been focusing on authors, and we got to catch up on that stuff.
Absolutely. With KIDD being away for almost 2 years now, with the dry docking, you've got Sullivan's and Croker going in later this year. Texas she's out of dry dock, but she's been getting an overhaul that's been going on for several years now.
New Jersey was in dry dock.
Yep, New Jersey.
Cobia was in dry dock. USS Silversides is currently raising funds to go to dry dock. The most successful still existing submarine in the world.
Where is Silversides?
Silversides is in Muskegon, Michigan. I visited her in 2022. And she hasn't been dry docked in 40 years, so she's looking her age, but good thing she's in cold, fresh water, so she's still alive.
Yeah, I think Tim would attest to the fact that it's probably best to have your museum ship in fresh water as opposed to salt water.
If you can get it. Of course, the ones up north, like Sullivan's, like Cobia and Silversides, have to worry about zebra mussels a little more than we do. They haven't infiltrated this far south quite yet.
Yeah.
What do you think the chances that would be getting this far down, like say the Kidd?
Oh, I'm not a biologist. I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys had already done some research on that or not.
Mm-hmm.
No, but with Kidd getting out of water part of the year, they would die.
Yep.
So I don't know that they're gonna. The main thing that I think from what I've heard is, and I'm not an expert on this, but the zebra mussels get in and clog up the intakes for the pumps. They foul up the props, the shafts, and everything where they turn. So we don't have that worry. If they attach to the hull, when the water goes away from it, then they're just gonna die.
Yeah,
right.
It means we're gonna have to get out and scrape the side to get it off, and that's not good.
Right.
Take paint with it. That would be bad.
Yeah. Well, just talk to the Cobia, the Cod, and pretty soon Sullivan's and Croker, and they'll tell you what to do.
Paul Ferrace from COD actually put up video during his dry dock presentation at the Historic Naval Ships Conference of COD freshly out of the water in the dry dock, like the water is still draining out of the dock, and they're walking around, splashing around, and it looks like a kind of a water ripple, a light ripple that's on the hull. And he gets closer with the camera, and you realize the hull is not light reflecting or anything. The hull is actually moving, or so it appears, because he gets even closer and you can see all the zebra mussels like gasping, trying to get oxygen out of water that's not there anymore. So what appeared to be rippling was all the living covering on the cod. It was freaky looking.
Oh yeah.
And animal rights activists who hear that is probably going to be in just terror. But
yeah,
I didn't do it. Call Paul Ferrace at USS KIDD. You're welcome, Paul.
So I think, Tim, we left off on National Treasure for the Intrepid.
Okay. Nick Cage jumps off the carrier apparently. So I didn't find any other major films. I saw a lot of documentaries as usual. But for television shows, Blue Bloods on CBS has apparently filmed on or in front of the carrier quite a bit. And one show I kind of took an interest in, but it was a busy time and I didn't get to watch it a lot. That's going to be a streamer for me, is Person of Interest, which is like a Big Brother is watching type series. And I found a picture of it where they're standing in front of the nose of the carrier, and instead of Intrepid, they have CGI'd Colorado on it. And the website that had it was like, don't they know that's a battleship? And I'm thinking, does Hollywood care? But
truth.
Yeah. And
you've seen Pearl Harbor, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Well, Pearl Harbor is coming up.
Yes, it is.
There was a television series that I had never heard of called Smash.
Nope, never heard of it.
On NBC.
Nope.
And apparently it was about a theater production, like Broadway or off Broadway, and it followed this cast of actors and producers and everything for a theater. How it interacted with Intrepid, I have no clue, but it's in its credits.
Okay.
I would figure, being in New York, with the big TV industry in New York, that there would have been a lot more credits for Intrepid, but who knows?
Yeah, kind of surprised.
Yeah. I may just not have stumbled across enough of them.
Yeah.
You kind of got me wondering, and I don't think any of us covered this. Go look at the filmography for the Midway, with it being so close to LA.
You're going to see, I didn't find nearly as much as I thought I would for Midway either.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I figured the carriers, around LA and New York would just be overflowing with it.
Right. So are we ready to move on to Yorktown?
Sure.
So
Yorktown apparently is a big TV magnet in South Carolina, of all places. She was involved in Tora 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 back in 1970. And then one of my favorite films, and probably USS Slater's, John Epps' favorite film of all time, The Philadelphia Experiment, starring Michael Paré.
Is that the guy from Eddie and the Cruisers?
Yes, and also a great, fantastic television show in the mid to late 80s called Houston Nights on CBS, where he played a mafia-associated police detective in Chicago who kills the wrong guy, and they send him to Houston, Texas, to buddy up with a redneck cop from a detective in Houston who drives around in a pickup truck and spits tobacco. And they were complete and polar opposites. It was a great show. I love that show. I was so mad when they canceled it. For television, Yorktown, actually, I found a couple of old photos and an old article. When she was in service, she had Get Smart on for an episode, filming an episode. And I'm going to have to go back and look that up and find that episode, because I would love to see what they did on there. Yeah. The next entry is Ghost Hunters, which is going to be all through the battleships and the carriers that I've looked at so far. The HBO series Homeland apparently filmed on Yorktown, at least in one episode, with Claire Danes and Mandy Patinkin. Army Wives with JAG alumnus Catherine Bell filmed there. And then this is where all the ship people would probably get really bent out of shape. She was USS Christmas on the Hallmark Channel.
To say something about that, some of these museum ships that have been in some, let's just say, not very good movies, I've resigned my hope to hopefully they've made some type of profit off of these movies, even the bad ones. So that's how I reconcile, that these ships are in these really bad movies.
Yeah. And actually that brings up a valid point, James. A lot of people, when we got ready to go to dry dock and we said we were going to start fundraising for it, some of the comments in the comment sections of the social media came out with, what happened to all that Greyhound money? They made millions off of that, and location fees for filming at a particular spot do not enter the millions whatsoever. They may get to the hundreds of thousands if you're at a spot like Times Square. I forget how much. There was a movie with Tom Cruise and Penelope Cruz and Cameron Diaz, Vanilla Sky. Vanilla Sky shut down Times Square entirely just so they could have a panoramic shot of Tom Cruise standing in Times Square with nobody, no vehicles, no people, no nothing. That, I think, is the most expensive location fee I've ever heard of. And that was several $100,000 for that. But yeah, the location fees are a nice shot in the arm for the museums. Certainly, it's a nice bonus to your budget, but they are not the goose that laid the golden egg.
Right.
Yeah. Needless to say, Greyhound did not fund the kids' dry docking.
Greyhound would not have even come close to funding Kidd's dry docking or anybody else's dry docking.
Mm-hmm.
So next up is Hornet.
Okay.
And Ozzy, yes, I did see the starship USS Yorktown in the credits. They were quick to list that in the credits. The AI was, and I'm like, that ship doesn't exist. So no. Hornet, and I have not seen this movie. I'm not familiar with. I know it's a franchise. I'm not familiar with it. So if I mispronounce this name, please forgive me. Somebody teach me how to say it. But Triple X, the State of the Union.
Never heard of it.
Ice Cube or Ice T was in it. One of the ices was in it.
Wasn't there also, and I could be way off base here, but I seem to remember a movie like that, a similar title with Vin Diesel in it.
It might have been Vin Diesel. Maybe that's what
I could be way off, but
anybody in the chat know who starred in this movie and how to say it?
Anna has a question you could probably answer, Tim. We were just discussing location fees and all that.
We do not get residuals. They do not treat us like actors. I wish they did, but no, they don't. And actually, that is something that has come up in the industry. There's questions now about locations, say like ships or like the inside of, say, the Statue of Liberty or something, or maybe the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, the Rotunda or something. There are questions of, what if we come in and we LiDAR scan it? We don't have to film there. We just need to be in there for a few hours with our equipment. We'll scan it and then we'll move on. And we won't have to shut it down or anything like that. They'll pay like a little fee to come in and do it. And there's questions about that, because if they came in and LiDAR scanned Kidd, or they LiDAR scanned, Louisiana's old state capitol with that dome and the rotunda and everything, James, you're familiar with it. It's very iconic. Then nobody would ever have to go back to that museum, to the old Capitol, to the U.S. Capitol, to the Kidd, or any of these other historic houses or whatever, and film there again. And so it's like, well, do we fall in the same category in that case as Angelina Jolie about making, a scan of her and a digital AI avatar of her? That's what the whole SAG After Strike last year was all about, or 2 years ago, whenever it was, of, they want their, what's the word? Their IP, not IP. I don't know the technical term.
Copyright
of their image, that sort of thing. Because remember, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford signed away their images to George Lucas and Lucasfilm, and they made money off of their dolls and imagery and everything for decades. So that's a good question, Anna, and we don't have an answer to it yet. But no, they don't get residuals at this point, but maybe at some point we will. Samuel L. Jackson and Ice Cube. Thank you, Anna.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. Rescue Dawn, fantastic movie starring Christian Bale. He lost so much weight for a prisoner of war movie, almost where the doctors were kind of scared for him. The Master is another one that was filmed on Hornet, or using, maybe filmed off to the side of Hornet. I have not seen it, but it stars Philip Seymour Hoffman and a few other notables. I'm putting it on my watch list just because of all the people that's in it. Jag, I'm surprised Jag has not shown up more than in the stuff that I looked at, but Jag was used for television. The Amazing Race, Ghost Adventures. There's a lot of ghost stuff coming out, folks. And Expedition Unknown. I saw a few episodes of that show. I did not realize that they had actually gone aboard some of the museum ships, but they went aboard Hornet. So I'm going to go back and stream that and find those episodes.
I think I'm actually, quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised that there's only one ghost thing related to Hornet, because the few videos on YouTube I've seen, that always seems to come up is ghosts or whatever. They seem to make a big deal about it. So I'm kind of surprised there's only one listing here.
There's another one coming up that has multiples. So
yeah, it
it
makes
may
sense.
just be that maybe they didn't have a good experience with them.
Yeah, who knows?
Sometimes you get backlash from the crew. They don't want that.
Yeah, very true. Okay.
All right,
There you go.
Lexington.
Lexington was in Midway in 1976, which means she was active duty at that point. And she was in Pearl Harbor. And James, we had talked about a different live stream that we might do in the future, another museum ships, like museum ships in collisions, museum ships on fire. And Pearl Harbor, they were repainting an area that had been changed up. They're putting it back the way it should be. They changed it up for the movie. And a painter with a cigarette set a cigarette down, and with all the paint fumes, it caught the interior of the island on fire.
I never knew that.
After the filming. So, what was that, Connie?
I did not know that.
Yeah. And the reason I remember it was because Slater also caught fire for a half a second with a
Right.
welding apron, tarp, fireproof tarp, where they were welding, and the ship itself, just got smoke damage and everything, but the heat from the thing burning just melted all the snow and ice in January or February off of the main deck, two levels up. And right at about that time, I was doing some safety stuff for the ship, and I sent out an email to all of our crew. I said, you guys have done a fabulous job with safety, with the overnights and everything, and here's what's happened to Slater, here's what's happened to Lexington. Not throw them under the bus, but this is what safety awareness does, is it prevents stuff like this. So good job. Damned if the following weekend 3 of them didn't completely screw the pooch on me. So that's why I remember that story so well. Oh, I was fit to be tied. War and Remembrance. If you're old like me, you remember that miniseries on TV, and Lex was used to film that. And I'm curious as to whether or not she was still in service, because I think she served through 91.
I think so. It was early 90s when they retired her.
Yeah, so she might have been active service at that point in the Gulf, because at that point she was the training ship, so she would sail from Pensacola to Corpus Christi and back, and just let aircraft land on her and launch off of her. So,
and we got one in the comments speaking of carriers that were inactive and having been used in a movie, USS Nimitz, The Final Countdown.
This is true. Unfortunately,
she's not a museum ship.
No,
but
she's not.
Definitely one of my favorite movies.
It's a good movie.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I read the book. The book's even like more detailed. Martin Caidin, one of the classic sci-fi writers, wrote it, and I want to say he adapted it for the movie.
The last time I watched that movie, I had an opportunity to watch it with someone who had recently been on Nimitz as a crew member, and he just spent the entire movie going, "That's changed. That's changed. That's no longer green. That's changed. That's changed. That's a set." He basically just spent the whole movie doing that.
That's awesome,
folks.
So he would be.
This is what you're in for.
Friends group like I would.
Yeah.
This is what you're in for if you ever watch Greyhound with Tim.
Yeah.
No, Greyhound's not one I pick apart. I have actually been thrown out of a room by my college friends for picking apart Under Siege.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because I got to where I would just take my baseball hat and throw it on the ground as the BS hat, and finally they were just like, "Get out, just leave."
Was it because
there's 15 light switches? He can't hit just one switch and make the whole place go dark. And they're like, "Out!" So, Ghost Hunters and Ghost Lab. I've seen Ghost Hunters. I've never seen Ghost Lab, but Lex, actually, the last time I was there, they have a display down in the engine room, kind of like a little hologram thing, way up high, and it tells you about one of the crew members that died there in the engine room. And I think the episode I saw with Ghost Hunters was talking about him. So they do have ghostly, apparently, experiences. I don't know if it's just the holograms that are the experience or if it's actually people seeing stuff, but that's her credits there.
So this next one I'm especially interested in because Midway to date is the only carrier that I have been on.
Why do I have Lexington twice?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks. That's poor proofing. That is unacceptable.
Really? There's no movies
Kick me off right now.
Yeah, I'm noticing that too. No movies for Midway.
I did not find a single movie. It's all documentaries. And everywhere I looked, I would find Top Gun Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, well, did they actually use it for Top Gun Maverick? And when I started like cross-referencing and everything, no, they didn't. But the AI pops up and pulls it up because they held like a premiere screening on there.
Yeah, they landed a helicopter on the deck.
Yeah. So like us, they had some auditions with American Idol. The Bachelor, I was kind of curious how they handled that. Extreme Makeover and Expedition Unknown is back. And I found one other one, but I didn't have time to go back and edit it in. There's something called Military Fear Factor.
Okay.
So I'm assuming it's Fear Factor, just a special episode or something, but that was on Midway as well.
Huh.
I'm really surprised no movies.
Yeah, I'm really surprised because it's in a perfect location for that type of work.
And she's been around about 20 years as a museum, so I would have thought that they would have picked something up by now.
Pretty sure
I was about to ask, what year did she become a museum show?
She was moved there in 2004.
Okay.
I think she might have opened the next year, so she's been 21 years now, close to.
And keep in mind the dates there is the dates that the TV series started. That's how they list them.
Right, gotcha.
It's not when they filmed on the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm not saying this is definitive that there has been no movies. I just haven't found them.
Yeah. If anyone,
I didn't just cue the AI. I actually would go to IMDb, cross-reference, that sort of stuff.
Yes. If anyone knows of any movies filmed on Midway, please let us know in the chat.
Absolutely.
Okay, officially opened in 2004. Thank you.
So and we do a live about museum ships and documentaries, a live stream.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You have Lexington with a picture of Hornet.
So what's that? This is the encore for Lexington.
It's the encore for Lexington?
Yes. But it's a picture of Hornet.
Okay. I don't know what the heck that is. That's an artifact, apparently.
Oh, that's awesome.
My apologies.
No worries.
Oh, I know what it was. I was going to try to squeeze Slater in, and I didn't have enough time.
Well, you want to run through that list real quick while I make the transition to the other images?
No, because I don't remember. There's one of them that's Japanese, and I need my prompt to be able to pronounce it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
Japanese movies have very long, elaborate names and artistic names.
Right.
Gotcha.
Where's Johnette when we need him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so. John was there for that filming, right?
I'm not sure.
I forget when it was.
Right, so Connor has compiled a list for us as well, and I'm interested in these because I've never heard of any of these museum ships before. So this will be a good learning opportunity for me.
So if it wasn't clear by my accent, I'm Canadian, and I decided to focus on Canadian ships that have been in film and television. And I also targeted ones that are slightly lesser known. So here we start here. This is the Marine Museum of Manitoba. And this here is their main display, and they have 5 full vessels and 1 tugboat, all up on land. And my focus is the white one there, the Kenora. Brief history of her, just to summarize, the Kenora was built in 1897, and she was a transport, basically a passenger steamship and cargo carrier. And initially, she was built for a region of northwestern Ontario referred to as Lake of the Woods, which ran between the town of Kenora with one E and a place called Rainy River down right on the border near International Falls. And about 1917, she gets moved by rail. She actually gets broken up, and she gets moved by rail to Lake Winnipeg, which is a big lake right in the center of the province of Manitoba. And she would then sail there until 1966, when a ban was put in place on wooden superstructured ships after a disaster in Toronto about 15 years prior. She would end up being moved to that museum. Let me just look at my note here. She was moved to this museum in the 60s, and she opened up a little later on. She's been in a lot of television, a lot of local television, but the most recent thing that people would know her from is she was in the 2024 Netflix movie Time Cut, which is basically a murder mystery action horror film, and a good chunk of it is on the Kenora. So it's not the biggest ship by any means. She's only about 160 feet long, but I had a chance to see her back in 21, and I'm probably going to go see her again this year. And I thought it was a really interesting thing to cover. And I did include 3 other pictures just so you can kind of see her from other angles as well.
So, Connor, you said she got broken up and moved? They dismantled her partially into sections?
Yep. So they literally cut her into, from what I understand, 3 sections. Well, 2 sections originally. And they then took her to, because she's mostly made of wood. And basically what ends up happening is they bring her to Manitoba, and they actually added a extra 20 feet to the vessel in the center so that she could carry more passengers. And then they connected her all back together, and she would sail for another 40 years on Lake Winnipeg.
Wow. And what's the distance between the 2 points they carried her on rail, roughly? Just guess.
I can check that right now. The Google Maps are a friend of yours. So they moved her. Approximately 228 kilometers. So translate that to miles. Give me a second, because I realize most of your visitors. I should have done this ahead of time. 141 miles by train.
What time period is this?
This would have been 1917.
1917. See, that's interesting to me, because I for our Facebook page, I've been doing like a series on museum destroyers all around the world, and some of the Chinese destroyers that they've got, the older ones, were left over from World War II. The Soviets built them, and they built them at the Black Sea shipyards in Crimea. Mm-hmm. And then the Nazis were coming in, the Germans were pushing in. And so they stopped. They basically cut what they built so far into sections, put them on rail lines, and sent them over to the Pacific coast. Right. Which I was just like, that's phenomenal, to be trucking by rail a destroyer, and then reassembling it in a different ocean. It's amazing. So for you mentioning that rang a bell. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on?
And it should also be noted that Kenora herself was Kenora was built in my area, about another 200 kilometers away. And she was then sent to Kenora and then assembled there to begin with. So she actually had 2 movements by rail over the course of her life.
That's amazing.
And I think there's at least one more photo, I believe I sent you just as well. This is like me right under the bow. Yeah, there we are. So this is the other one I got, and you can see the other 2 large ships on the left side there. Just quick note, I don't believe she's in any movies herself, but the gray vessel on the right, that is the CCGS Bradbury, which, if you discount light ships, is the oldest Coast Guard vessel in North America that's still around.
Wow.
She was built in 1915.
And what is she classified as?
She would have been an icebreaker.
Icebreaker. Okay.
Built for Lake Winnipeg.
Wow.
For the various fishing fleets and things like that. So she would have led the way. And she's the only vessel in Canadian Coast Guard service that still has her original pre-1962 paint. So either a black or gray hull with a white superstructure and yellow stack. So any Canadian Coast Guard ship before 1962 would have had a similar aesthetic. So
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting as well. That whole museum is very fascinating.
Wow.
I would definitely like to check that museum out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're ever up in the Winnipeg area, it's only 45 minutes north of the city.
What and I'm sorry, I'm not where exactly in Canada would Winnipeg be? I'm trying to create a mental image.
Canada is in the province of Manitoba. So if you want to go by United States standards, it's directly north of North Dakota and Minnesota.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty close to both states.
Gotcha. Okay. What's the this one over here with the white and blue hull?
So that is a fishing boat known as the Canadian Lady. I don't know too much about the ship, just off the top of my head. But both her and the Jacama 2 were both open to the public as well. They had displays inside. You go up onto the deck. They were quite interesting ships. We were there on a relatively slow day because it was 2021 and COVID was still a very obvious concern at the time.
Right.
But very interesting vessel. Actually, I do have one thing. My great-great-grandmother actually immigrated to the Rainy River area on the Kenora.
Huh.
Wow.
So I do have a very small connection to that ship.
It looks like a partial hull outside of the Lady Canadian?
I don't have a name for it, but they did in fact have a remnant of another ship there as well that they had pulled up. Like that was part of it they've been able to pull up. So I don't have all the information. I'm going back there probably this year, so I'll have the answer for you then.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I included 3 ships. So we can go to the next.
Okay.
So this is Keewatin. This here is Keewatin. She was built in Glasgow, Scotland in 1907 in sight of the Lusitania. They were built right across from each other.
It's funny you mention that because the first thing that's catching my eye on this particular ship, the type of davit system looks very similar to what Lusitania and Mauritania would have had.
Yeah.
The style of them.
So the Keewatin was built for the CP rail line. And back in those days, if you wanted to travel west, you either could pay a very expensive ticket, which would take you all the way across, or what you could do is you could take a ticket to a town called Port McNicoll on Lake Huron, and then get on one of their passenger steamers that would take you all the way to the Lakehead region, where the city of Thunder Bay is today. And then you could get on another train and continue on from there. Keewatin was one of 2 ships, the first being Keewatin and the second being Assiniboia. And Assiniboia, unfortunately, would meet a tragic fate burning in the Camden Harbor in 1971. So a businessman had bought the ship with the intent to turn into a museum and attraction in the town. But she caught fire during her renovation and leaving Keewatin as the last Edwardian passenger ship left on Earth. So you have Titanic there in the background, James. They are technically related, although Keewatin's about 5 years older than Titanic would have been.
Okay.
So this picture actually I took, if we go back to the picture again, this picture I actually took myself in 2023 after the HINZA conference. I was in Hamilton, Ontario, and I realized that Keewatin was at Superior Shipyards, Ontario Shipyards, getting a dry docking done before she would go on to reopen in Kingston, Ontario as a museum. And I took the opportunity, and I can tell you it's very obvious that the shipyard was aware of the ship's notoriety, because they had this platform set up, a wooden platform that was about 20 feet above the parking lot, which allowed you to see up over most of their materials, so you could get a nice shot of the ship. And I took that opportunity. So I took this the day after HINZA 2023, Tim. Okay. And I haven't gone to see her in person at her new museum, but she's a pretty impressive ship. As for her film credits, she's appeared in a lot of smaller productions. She's actually played the Titanic and the Lusitania in other media, but for Canada, her most notable appearance is in the long-running television show Murdoch Mysteries, which is a very popular mystery show here in Canada that takes place at the start of the 20th century. And there is an episode where Murdoch uncovers a mystery on a fictionalized version of the Keewatin. And I say fictionalized because unfortunately the ship sinks at the end of the episode. So that is obviously not historical, considering here she is today. So yes, if anyone loves Titanic, loves the Olympic, loves that classic era of liners, you only have one place in the world where you can actually go aboard one now, and that today is in Kingston, Ontario, at the Maritime Museum of the Great Lakes.
I can tell you with certainty that you have perked the ears of a lot of my subscribers.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll love the attendance.
About her, in fact.
We do, and let me bring that up.
You feel the same. Very ship Carissa Keewatin is in rough shape. She's in a lot better shape. Her superstructure is made of wood, which, similar to the Kenora, she was taken out of service for the same reason, and because she served from 1908 to 1966. Unfortunately, there was a period during COVID where her owner shut down the ship, and the volunteers left some work unfinished. And as a result, certain areas of the ship, from what I understand, were exposed to the elements. The ship has gotten a lot of work done since this happened. And from my understand, she's in pretty good shape now. If you go to their website or their Facebook or any other social media, the Maritime Museum of the Great Lakes or the Great Lakes Museum, I believe that's their current name, you can see some up-to-date photos of the ship. And from what I understand, she's in quite good shape for her age.
That's good to hear. So for the ocean liner folks, you have like a little pilgrimage you can go on. You can go see this ship. You can always go to Long Beach and see the Queen Mary. You can always go to Belfast and see the Titanic Museum, which has Nomadic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nomadic's one I want to see someday.
She's extremely high on my bucket list.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, just to answer Anna's question, could you bring that up?
Yes, let's see.
What was the incident that brought the law about? So there were a couple of things, but the one that will often get mentioned is the burning of the Noronic in Toronto Harbor in 1949, if I remember correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, well over 100 people died when someone lit a fire in the ship's linen closet, and due to the ship's wooden superstructure construction, the vessel caught fire far faster than was anticipated, and she burned. And I know that started a movement which resulted in the banning of passenger ships with wooden superstructures. Was that the explosion? It wasn't an explosion, it was a fire. Unless you're thinking of the Halifax explosion, which will be coming up.
Okay. Is that the next image?
Yep.
All right, let's get on to it.
All right. Now, Tim, I'm not sure if you recognize this one.
Acadia. Yeah.
Yes. So this is
Yeah,
Acadia.
we play with them a little bit on Twitter, or we did. I think we got different social media
Right.
people on there now.
So everyone, this is the Acadia, CSS Acadia, Canadian Survey Ship, not Confederate ship. People have made that mistake before. This is the Acadia. She is a survey vessel, which was built right for World War I believe 1913. And she is, outside of the warships, probably the most filmed vessel of all the Canadian historical fleet. Bit of history on her. She is the only Canadian ship to serve in the Navy in both World War I and World War II. Nice. She was a CGS vessel, Canadian government ship, when the war began. And in 1917, she was basically taken over by the Navy. And for a year and a half, she served as a patrol ship, escorting convoys around the east coast of Canada. After the war, she was transferred back to the Canadian government, where she would continue to serve until World War II breaks out, where she was immediately conscripted, basically right in early 1940, into the Navy again. They put a 4-inch gun on her deck. I believe I have a picture, the second picture I gave you. There she is. So they retrofitted her, got rid of some of her niceties, put a gun on her deck, and she would go around patrolling for submarines in World War II, just like World War I. To my knowledge, she never saw action, although she did engage in a number of search and rescue and other operations. So she ended up being the only Canadian ship to serve, or only Canadian warship to serve and survive to this day from both World Wars. If you go back to the other picture again. After the war, she was converted back to civilian use, and she became a Canadian survey ship. That's where the CSS comes from. And she would serve in that capacity right up until her retirement in 1969. And she would literally become a historical site less than a decade later. And she would open as a museum in 1982. So she's been a museum now for 44 years as of now. And she's only one dock over from Sackville.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah. So they're actually side by side. They're not the same museum. This is run by the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic. Meanwhile, I believe Sackville is run by another organization, although they do partner up quite obviously. And as for her filmography, she has been in quite a few films. So her first movie appearance is in 1982, the year she became a museum. She was in the film South Pacific 42, which I had never heard of. And she portrayed a Japanese destroyer, of all things. So it's not exactly the most accurate for a Japanese destroyer, but she can play the role. Her next film appearance was in 1990, where in the Canadian/Disney film The Little Kidnappers, which was a television movie where she played an immigration ship. Now, arguably one of the roles that Halifax people know her for is in the film The Morning of Armageddon in 1992. Remember how I mentioned the Halifax explosion earlier? Mm-hmm. This ship has one more credit to its name. It is the only ship remaining from the Halifax explosion.
Wow.
So she was there. She survived. And she's, like I said, she's still kicking around today. I know it's just her response, Anna Thomas's comment about, yeah, it's a weird name for a movie, The Kidnappers. I have not seen this film. I'm just reading off the list I have. Just in the comments. But so basically she portrays the Mont Blanc in the film. She also appears as a World War II merchant ship in Lifeline to Victory. She plays the RMS Lusitania in the 1996 film RMS Lusitania. In the movie, she plays the SS Republic in Rescue at Sea for PBS. She plays a hospital ship in a short film called Halifax 1917. She apparently plays a paddle wheeler. I'm not sure how they did that in a beer commercial in 2000. She plays the HMS Beagle in Darwin's Darkest Hour for National Geographic. In 2009, she played a San Francisco Bay Ferry in the miniseries Seawolf. Then she famously, in 2011, played the Titanic on a Discovery Channel direct-to-TV movie. So she has been in probably the most films of all the Canadian museum ships that I looked into, other than potentially a warship, but I didn't look too far. Obviously, Sackville has Greyhound, but surprisingly, not too many movies by comparison. But Acadia, just when I saw her film repertoire, I said, okay, yeah, I got to include this on the list. But fascinating ship, tons of history.
So two things stood out to me. She has two things in common with Kidd. She's been a museum ship since '82, and she portrayed a Japanese destroyer in a movie.
Yeah,
sure.
I just found that
and her social media team has a good sense of humor.
Oh, that's good to hear. And honestly, when I look at all three of these vessels, I do see various basic characteristics of how Canada as a nation, a maritime nation, was formed. When you get ships like the Kenora, you see immigration as Canadians moved to the west. Same to a degree with the Kenora, only that was more localized to Lake Winnipeg. And in the case of Acacia, it really just goes to show just how scraped together the early Canadian Navy was in many ways. Like, they were taking patrol boats and government transport ships and strapping guns to them and calling them a warship. And when you consider, like, that was how it started, and versus where they are now and where they're hopefully going to be in the future, it shows just kind of a lot of like the different characteristics of Canadian maritime history. Now, there are plenty of other Canadian museum ships, but I only brought the three. So, yeah.
Very cool. James, can you go to the black and white shot of her?
Yes. Let's see.
So if you can zoom in on her bridge area, if possible.
How's that?
That's good. The circular thing behind, yeah, that. Connor, you have any idea?
Not 100%. My brain says radio.
It looks to me like some form of radio direction finder, because Kidd had something like that right behind her bridge, between her bridge and her mast at one point in 43. Mm-hmm. It stood up a little taller on a stand, but the ring and the central spoke looks very familiar, and I was wondering if that might be hers.
My research says this picture was either sometime between 1941 and 43. So this is World War II. So probably radio system.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like the ECM system to me. Find radio direction finding, trying to find triangulate on a sub.
Indeed. But yeah, no, she's a really cool ship, and she's on my list of Canadian museum ships I need to visit, because I've seen Haida, I've seen most of the ones in central Canada, but I have yet to go out to the East Coast and see Sackville and see Acadia. So they're right on the top of my list.
Yeah. Well, if I get to go to historic naval ships next year, then she'll be right across from Sackville.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Get two ships for the cost of one. One conference.
We are apparently missing James.
I think James took a little segue outside. And yeah, because he muted his mic.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have people in the comments
Water's out.
saying that it's a direction finder antenna. So yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
It's crazy when you think about it. Like that ship went from basically right at the end of the British Empire all the way through to the 1960s. Like that's a pretty long career for one of those boats.
Yeah. And I noticed she's still got portholes. Whereas a lot of the ships, like USS New Orleans, had portholes below the main deck. And the minute war broke out in World War II, they started welding them all closed. So I'm a little
if you look,
see her in military outfit and still having the portholes.
If you look at her bow, you can see you can see that right on the bow. They didn't take it off.
Kept that on.
Yeah, they kept it on.
Is that still on her today?
Go back to the other picture. Let's see if it's still there. No, it is not. So that's interesting. So at some point when she was a survey ship, they removed it.
I wonder where it is.
Yeah. I've been told that if you go and visit that ship, there is a monument to a ship's cat that lived on board for almost 20 years.
A ship's cat?
Yeah. The ship apparently had a cat from the late 90s through to like 2015. Wow. And there's a small little display just for that one cat.
That's awesome.
All right, but yeah, those are my ships. So if there's any other questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we can move on to yours, James.
Okay. So I only have one, and it's a big one. But when you only have, as far as I'm aware, 2 ocean liners in the world that serve as museum ships, anyone correct me if I'm wrong, I figured I would pick one of those to represent that type of ship.
Where are the 2?
The Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay. Yep.
That's it?
Well, there's technically the Japanese hospital ship that was also that was a passenger ship, not a liner per se, but there's but yeah, in terms of traditional liners as we envision them crossing the Atlantic, then yes, there's 2.
Right.
And Britannia wouldn't count as an ocean liner. She was served as a yacht, right?
Yeah, she was a yacht.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I went with the Queen Mary, and I figured we'd start off with the biggest, most obvious one that she's been in. You know, the Poseidon Adventure. You had the big slew of disaster flicks in both the 70s and the 90s. I would argue that the Poseidon Adventure is probably one of the best ones, and that's not just because I think it's it's got a ship in it, but I just think it's an excellent movie. I'm kind of going a little bit off the movie history here and some of the cast, but the movie came out in 1972. It was based off the Poseidon Adventure novel written in 1969, and the Queen Mary doesn't just have a tie to the movie; it has a tie to the author who wrote the book. So Paul Gallico was an American sports writer in the 30s, and in 1937, he took the traditional transatlantic voyage from Southampton to New York on the Queen Mary. And on that voyage, they got caught up in a very bad storm. I believe it was 3 successive waves hit the ship, and she rolled so hard that he was in one of the dining saloons, and he's looking out the window, and the water is practically right there.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Enough to, I guess, scare the crap out of him and probably everyone else on board the ship at the time. And that memory stuck with him forever. And again, in 1969, he wrote the Poseidon Adventure based on his experience that he had during that voyage on the Queen Mary. And of course, as we know, they use the Queen Mary in the movie. There are external shots that were shot on the ship, but they also used this very big model.
Wow.
And you can see clear it has Poseidon written on it. And as I understand it, and then this model still exists. This is at the Los Angeles Maritime Museum. Tim might cringe a little if you notice it's not encased, so anyone can just walk up and put their
Oh
hands on
no.
the
Yeah.
yes. So, but the model is interpreted as Queen Mary existed at the time that the movie was filmed, because you guys know ships have been in service that long. They change over time.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the interpretation of the model here. And I got another image of the backside of it. It's kind of looking a little worse for wear, considering the thing's 50 years old now, but it's still pretty cool that they have that. But
That's a
you
really
could go
nice model.
and it is. It really is.
You happen to know the scale?
I do not know the scale of the model. I unfortunately do not. I don't know if going back to that other picture would give a sense of scale. There is a picture. If you go to the LA Maritime Museum's website, that's where I got these from. They have a picture of a little kid with his right hand, right here about a midship. And the model looks absolutely massive compared to this kid. So it was a pretty big model.
Yeah.
Not a 1-to-1 scale.
No, not a 1-to-1. It did have functioning propellers. The propellers were battery operated. It did light up externally for the nighttime shots. It did have smoke coming out the funnels. So for some really wide shots, like when there's a scene in the movie right when the wave is about to overtake the ship. That's this model here. When she's partially capsized before she completely turns over, that's this model in the water. And as far as oh no.
No.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Oh no.
That's coming.
Pearl Harbor comes
for you folks. Oh no.
Yeah. But they did do a lot of interior shots on the ship. But from what I understand, the bridge that they used was a set, but they actually used items from the Queen Mary's bridge on the ship. I had a list, and I forget exactly which ones they were, but they did use actual pieces from the Queen Mary's bridge on that set.
Okay.
And I want to say that Shaft Alley, around that area, or the engine rooms, that was also filmed on the ship. There are exterior shots on the upper decks. And I specifically remember one shot where you got a group of people sitting down in chairs on one of the open decks, and Gene Hackman's looking down and he's talking to them, and you can see smoke coming out of the funnel. None of that's like CGI or anything, of course. It's the 70s. They rigged some type of I don't know if fog machine is the right word, but some type of system where it looked like smoke was coming out of the Queen Mary's real funnels. So yeah, that's just a few of the things that come to mind for me when I think about the Poseidon Adventure. So moving on to
the Poseidon Adventure, you've obviously seen, yes?
Yes.
Did you see the remake?
I did see the remake. The Queen Mary is not the ship in the remake. It looks nothing like the Queen Mary. It looks like a modern cruise ship.
Okay.
And the best I can say for the remake is that I don't recommend it.
Okay.
What's this movie called? What's this movie called again?
The original movie is the Poseidon Adventure. There was a remake in 2006 simply called Poseidon. Check out the Poseidon Adventure if you're going to watch one.
Oh yeah, I see.
So yeah, this was the that first image I showed you guys this is the original theatrical poster for the movie.
Okay.
Not a great photograph of Ernest Borgnine there.
It kind of disappoints me because I just looked up the remake, the Poseidon, the remake of it, and they missed an opportunity to use the Queen Mary 2
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It is just a generic cruise ship looking thing.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, like that would have been an interesting opportunity, but I've heard of the remake. Funny enough, I hadn't heard of this.
Especially given the time frame, because the remake came out in 2006. Queen Mary 2 was 2 years old at that point, so she was still all nice and pristine. I'm not saying she isn't now, but still, she was only 2 years old at the time of that remake.
Yeah.
So you saw what the next one was going to be that I'm going to bring up. Let's get over onto it. So this isn't obviously not something based on the Queen Mary, but she makes an appearance in this movie, and it's amongst a long list of many things that this movie did not get correct. In fact, there's a website, and I think if you Google the things Pearl Harbor got wrong, and it's
send me that link, please.
Yeah. So the shot of her in this movie is now, of course, you guys have seen this movie, I'm assuming.
Once.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not just Pearl Harbor, it's like the months and whatnot in 1941 leading up to Pearl Harbor. Well, there's a scene in the movie where Ben Affleck and Kate Beckinsale are in this little boat, and they're out. They're in New York, and they pass by the Queen Mary. She's moored in New York. The problem with that is she is still in her canard paint scheme, which would not have been accurate to 1941. She was serving as a troop ship at that point. She was HMT Queen Mary, and she would have been painted completely gray. So all that just to mention, another one of the things that this movie did not get correct.
Honestly, I didn't even register to me that was Queen Mary.
I didn't
really?
know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Side note, Josh, what's his last name? The guy on the right?
Hartnett. Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartman. I met him briefly. They were filming a TV series on the levee in Baton Rouge, and they used the museum's elevator to get their equipment up to that level.
Right.
And he comes through, and I'm just giving him directions on where to go. Very, very nice guy. Really surprised. Not surprised that he was a nice guy, but he did something that a lot of people of his stature would not do, and that really impressed me about him.
When was
Very
this?
genuine guy.
Do you remember?
What's that?
Do you remember when this was? Like what year?
This would have been 2019 or late 2018, because the location manager for Greyhound was still doing location manager stuff at that point, and they were filming all around downtown. It's I want to say it's an HBO series, Paradise Lost, I think.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, you want some money?" It's like, "Well, oh, yeah." He's like, "I want to use your elevator. You've got the closest elevator. We're over here at this point. We got to run up on the levee, and then we got to run right back." And so he's like, "Can you stay open for an extra 3 hours and just let us pass through the building to get up? Kid's not going to be in it, but we just need to film on the levee." It's like, "Sure." So a few $100 came our way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's another one. Well, real quickly, actually, I know this isn't museum ship related, but he was also in Oppenheimer that came out a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a good movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. So our next one is this gem.
I instantly recognized it.
So the Queen Mary is prominently featured in this movie, and she is starring as Titanic 2. Now, this is not a sequel to James Cameron's movie. This is a standalone movie about a ship called Titanic 2. And striking an iceberg and sinking isn't dramatic enough for this movie. There's massive waves and hurricanes and explosions on the ship. And this right here. You're just seeing Titanic 2 on Queen Mary's bow just grinds my gears.
It should be noted that this movie is made by Asylum Pictures, which is the same company that made the Sharknado franchise. So it kind of gives you a level of their not competence, but their style of filmmaking.
You don't need to say anything further. See,
at
I
any
think I've
point
got
did the shark land on deck?
Not that I can remember, but if you would have pitched it to the script writers at the time, they might have indulged you. So I think I've got two more that she was in. Yes, 1979 movie. Queen Mary, of course, portrays the Titanic. At some point, she was going to portray the real Titanic. And admittedly, I have not seen this movie all the way through.
I've never seen this.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I honestly don't remember enough about it to say good or bad movie. But again, she's the Titanic. She's very prominently featured from what my memories of it are. And the last one.
Why are the stacks green?
I think that's the lighting and the colorization in the photo.
Okay.
That's kind of what it looks like to me.
Okay. Most interesting thing about this picture to me is Susan St. James. So.
There you go. So the last one, and admittedly, I've not seen this movie at all, but it is on my list. Assault on a Queen. You got Frank Sinatra taking command of a German U-boat, and they are going to try and hijack the Queen Mary while they are on a transatlantic voyage.
Is this set post-war or pre-war or during the war?
This is post-war.
This sounds like a film I need to see just for the absurdity of it.
So she's playing herself.
Yes, she is playing herself.
Even though she was a troop ship during the war.
Correct. Well, this is post-war.
Post-war. Okay.
Yeah. And I have tried to find somebody saying that it's on YouTube.
On YouTube.
But I looked on YouTube and I did not see it unless you have to rent it.
Yeah, maybe.
But I chose...
Ozzy, send us the link.
Yeah. But if you look at Queen Mary's IMDb, and I mentioned this to you guys off screen, she's got 49 titles attributed to her, and some of them are just some people happen to walk by her, and therefore she's listed as being in the movie. So I tried to pick the ones that most prominently featured her and ones that I thought people might know. Obviously, Poseidon Adventure being number one.
Yeah. I'm quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised it's only that many because she's been in quite a few things, but I'm in my mind that you think it'd be closer to 50s or higher even.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if we took television into account, it would probably boost a bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's some museum ships in San Francisco parked near the Pampanito.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're old wooden steam tugs, that sort of stuff. Medea, I think, is one of them. And they, I want to say through the 2000s, maybe the late 90s, when they were always in the kind of like NCIS with the Barry. They were always in the background of Nash Bridges because Don Johnson's character lived on a boat. And so every time they came out on deck on that boat, there's these museum ships and everything. I'm like, oh, there's Medea. Oh, there's this.
Yep.
So, man, if Anna's question earlier, if they had gotten royalties, man, they would be set.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of surprising variety of ships in the San Francisco Bay Area in terms of what's available. There's lumber schooners. There's a fully rigged freighter, like if we're talking 1800s. There's a steam tug, a bunch of interesting just collection of vessels that are either parts of museums or connected to museums. It's an interesting area that I would visit someday.
I'm sure you guys have seen recently. It was mentioned that I guess whoever's in charge of the Hornet, whatever person or organization is trying to get it moved to San Francisco to boost tourism.
Yes, I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's in Alameda right now.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so not the most touristy hub unless you're going to find it.
I think they expected, with the base closures and everything, that place would explode with development, and it just didn't. It didn't develop the way they had anticipated.
Right. And I also know that at one point she wasn't even supposed to be a museum ship. She was just there for a while, but interesting. Yeah, the Hornet, that whole area of Southern California is an area that I need to visit some point in my life.
The closest I've been, like I said, I've been to San Diego. I did tour the Midway. Unfortunately, we were not there long enough for me to hit the Iowa and the Queen Mary, but they remain on my bucket list.
Yeah. The HMS Surprise is in San Diego.
Yes.
From Master and Commander.
Formerly the Rose.
Yep, formerly Rose. I have her hat up there somewhere.
All right. Well, gentlemen, that's all I've got.
All right.
You guys got any more you want to throw in there?
Any more ships? Yeah. I mean, you get the battleships involved. I only covered the carriers and KIDD. There's a lot more museum ships out there that have film credits, but I just ran out of time, and it would make. We're already at how long?
We're almost at 2 hours.
So we'd be here forever. But
battleships pop up in the most random places.
Yeah.
The one that's coming to my mind right now is 2021's Godzilla versus Kong. There's a single shot where their ship comes under attack, and one of the characters runs out into the hallway, and it's the Broadway of a battleship. And I think in the end credits it says USS Iowa, and it's like a single 3-second shot.
Okay.
And it's like they will just crop up. Oh yeah, part 2. Yeah, we could probably.
Anna wants a part 2 to this.
Yeah. Yeah, we could definitely do a part 2 if enough folks want it.
Yeah,
I could probably find some more ships.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, if we could do one on battleships alone, like you guys are saying.
Yeah, battleships, cruisers. Belfast has a lot of credits.
Well, just realize, guys, if we have to cover Texas, we're going to have to cover Pearl Harbor again.
Oh yeah,
true.
Yeah,
sure.
And then we're going to have to get into Under Siege.
Yep.
So
Alabama.
There'll be some cornball.
Oh yeah, looking forward to
it. Mark's telling me yes, part 2.
I'll throw one more cornball for the Queen Mary before we wrap it up.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, there was a horror movie filmed on board the Queen Mary. It's called The Haunting of the Queen Mary, which on the surface was, well, that's not surprising considering how much you hear that the Queen Mary is haunted. But I have to tell you, as an avid fan of horror movies, I grew up with them. I've enjoyed them all my life, and that passions never really went away, even by my standards. And I've liked some pretty bad horror movies. It's not watchable.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Yeah. So if you see The Haunting of Queen Mary, pass on it.
Gotcha.
That's saying something because you love the Queen Mary.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm a big ocean liner nerd too. I'm not just about the warships. I like the ocean liners as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. Gentlemen, are we ready to wrap things up here?
I believe so.
Yeah, if you let us throw out a little teaser,
Please.
Connor who's running it right now?
So if you guys aren't aware, along with my work with Museumships, I work on the podcast Museum Ship Mafia, which currently is a show done between the Buffalo Naval Park and the USS Slater museums. And this upcoming show on March 11th, we are going to be hosting Tim as well as Park Stevenson for a basic summary of what's been happening at the KIDD over the last year, because it has been about a year since we last talked with them. So we're looking forward to having them back on the show in the near future.
You guys had a great series this past year with all the authors from the Naval Institute. So
yeah, special thanks to Jack Russell from USNI for getting us in contact with all these amazing authors that we got to talk with. Most of them, like I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, but I might have mentioned off screen, were mostly focused on U.S. naval history, but we did also have one author who wrote a book about the Queen Mary. So if you guys want to go back through our previous episodes, give them a watch, and a lot of interesting information. And sure enough, we'll have plenty of interesting episodes to come.
And I'll throw a little plug. This Tuesday, we'll be dropping a new video. Last year, we did one for Museum Advocacy Day and talking about museum money. Where does it come from? Because a lot of people in the comments were like, that money you got from the state could have been used for highways, scrap her, get rid of her. And so, you know, they were upset that we got state money. And then we explained how, you know, in 42 years, we had only gotten money from the state twice. And then the economic impact of the museum and the state was like, well, this is a good investment. So, and that kind of changed the tune. A lot of people were like, wow, didn't know that. Thank you for letting us know that. So for Museum Advocacy Day this year, we decided that, you know, people really kind of liked peeking behind the curtain and seeing how stuff worked. So we did it again. And this time we're going around to the museums in Baton Rouge. Not all of them, but some of them that we're able to. Mardi Gras threw our schedule kind of a curveball. Right. So a lot of them were closed because they're state run. But we managed, I think, to get about 6 of them on camera, and they're talking about their greatest challenges as museums. And it's a really interesting variety. No two are alike. So
absolutely.
That'll be dropping down on Tuesday night.
Yeah. And sorry, just to reply to Anna's comment, yes, it will be 8:00 EST. It's same time as this show.
That's what I was going to ask you. I'm glad you saw it. Tim, where else besides YouTube can folks go to learn about USS KIDD?
USSKIDD.com. They can go to Facebook. They can go and look up USS KIDD Veterans Museum. Behave. No, get out of there. They can also find my dog on All American Travels. Yes. Instagram, we're on X, we are on YouTube, of course. We are on, we have our Patreon now, and we're on Discord. Discord has kind of been I didn't know really what to do with it because I'm not familiar with Discord, but Gabby Blanchard and Paisley Adams are bringing that up to speed to kind of give that a hard launch now. So keep an eye out, go subscribe to our Discord, and you'll see all the new stuff they've got planned for coming out. And we are on TikTok. So I don't know TikTok that well, so you're not going to see much of me doing anything on it. But the ladies are handling it, and there's a whole plan for just pushing KIDD out into all those social media avenues.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm very much hoping that, and of course, I know Tim is too, that we will get the water levels to get where they need to be to get the ship back home, so we can.
Yes.
Everyone can see how she looks in her new scheme. And you guys got any exhibits planned anytime soon? Like new exhibits coming down the pipe for the museum?
We just put up a very small reserved exhibit. Just filled an empty spot. We had taken down an exhibit on DDG 993, kind of combined it into the pirate exhibit when we put that up. So we had a blank spot. So we filled it with an interim overhaul exhibit, talking about what all we've done to KIDD. We want to do a more comprehensive exhibit later on, but for right now, we're just keeping it small because our girl has been gone for April will be 2 years, so income is very truncated, and we're saving every penny until she gets home, so that we don't have to lay anybody off. We still keep the lights on, and somebody will be here when she gets home. So,
okay.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to say good night to everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I certainly did. I had a good time with it, and yeah, if gentlemen, if you guys are down for a part 2, I'm down for it as well.
Just let me know.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, good. So for Tim and for Connor, I am James. Everybody, thanks for watching. Have a good night, a great weekend, and we will see you next time.
Have a good night.